Okay, let's take a look at some examples of how to use ChatGPT. So in this first example, I had a need for a bio. I needed a bio about myself to specifically use for a contract proposal. So I do independent contract work as a consultant. I had somebody asked me if I would be willing to work as part of a team, and they wanted to put a package together that talked about um, the members of the team and what experience they bring to the project. Two of the bios had already been written. Obviously, I know a lot about myself, but I really wanted to kind of capture the same style and tone and types of content that were already in the previous two bios, but then obviously to insert my experience. So here's how I got started. I told ChatGPT, you are a copywriter with expertise in creating promotional marketing materials. So this goes back to the strategies I talked about where you have to train it. You have to tell it what lens you want the answer to be given through. I further said that you specialize in generating bios for consultants to help win new business. Use your expertise in this area to analyze the resume content below. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm providing ChatGPT my resume, the content of my resume, and I'm asking it to put it into three categories. Now, I chose these three categories because these were the categories that were already in use by the other two consultants. And so rather than me going through everything I have done and trying to figure out which category each piece of experience fits best in, I asked the AI tool to do it. The next bit of instruction here comes back to the strategy of not giving negative commands. So I said it is not necessary to use all content from the resume in the groups. Only include experience that is relevant to the category. You will be penalized $1,000 for each violation of this rule. So I'm letting ChatGPT know, hey, you're gonna be penalized if you do certain behaviors. If you don't say something like this, in my experience, ChatGPT will embellish. So we've got three categories here: operations management, production engineering, technical leadership development. Even though I'm providing my resume content, when I ask it to organize the content into those categories, it might see something in my resume and then just expand upon it and put it in, say, the operations management category, or even start adding additional types of experience that would be common for operations management. So I need to tell it, I need to bind it, I need to control the AI and say, look, don't make stuff up, only include the experience from the resume relevant to the category. I then pasted in the content of my resume just the way it was. And here's what it spit out. So here's the three categories. There's ops management, production engineering, and you can see it's taken the full bullets of the content on my resume and just rearranged them into those three categories, which is exactly what I asked it to do. And then it further said this categorization emphasizes the relevant experience and accomplishments in each area while avoiding any unnecessary inclusions. So it also went through, it didn't duplicate, and it took some of the stuff that was not necessary out. It didn't include it. So my next, now this is iterative, remember, so we've got to build into it. This is not a once and done, hey, let me just tell ChatGPT I need a bio, and it spits out exactly what I need. So we're taking it on a little tour here. We're guiding it in the direction that we need it to go. So now I give it some additional information about the companies that are named in my resume. And I describe them. Hey, the first one is a medium-sized startup business in a niche market. The next one's a Fortune 50 company engaged in commercial aviation, etc. And I said, consider the attributes of the market segments for each of those companies. Make a list of the challenges that would occur in each of those segments that is unique from the others. So what I'm trying to do is I'm leading ChatGPT down this path of being able to connect my experience with specific concepts that are relevant to these industries, because this is the industry that I'm trying to win new business in. And so it's going to go and do that. And the part where I've given it some freedom is this first line here. It says, consider the attributes of the market segments for each of those companies. So I've given it a little bit of information about the type of company, and now ChatGPT is going to use its knowledge of what a Fortune 50 commercial aviation company is and what a Fortune 100 defense contractor is. And it's going to now bring those items in and tell us what the unique challenges are. Okay? And so here we go. Niche market, rapid growth startup, and it's giving me bullet points of what the challenges in each of those sectors would be. Now, my next instruction, it's time to put all this together. And I literally said that to ChatGPT. I ask it to use the experience organized into categories. So the step that it did 2 steps ago, and look for where that experience aligns with the challenges that it just listed out for each company market segment. So I'm giving it a task to go find those matches and then create a brief summary of relevant experience to be used in a contract proposal. This is where ChatGPT excels. So creating a brief summary based on known information and known data that I've given it, it's a good writer. It's a good writing tool, and especially if I kind of tell it the tone that I want it to use. Now, I've made a mistake here in this prompt, and we're going to see the result of that in just a moment. I continued my prompt, though. This relevant experience should showcase how the person is a good fit, me being the person, for consulting on an aviation development contract based on their experience. Frame that experience into the 3 categories provided. Use language appropriate for proposal. And that's exactly what ChatGPT did. In fact, ChatGPT created a proposal, which is not what I was intending. I wanted it to use language that could be used in a proposal, but I'm not writing the proposal. I'm just writing a bio for myself to be included in a proposal. So you can see it starts off, we are pleased to submit our proposal for consulting services. And if you go through and read the rest, it's not bad, but now it's through this lens of, okay, we're submitting a proposal. So I had to correct that. And I said, you are not creating a proposal. You're creating a bio for one member of a consulting team to be used in the proposal. So again, we're providing it more context. All of this is now training the AI to deliver the type of response that is specific to the problem I'm trying to solve. It's still doing some work, but I have to do some work to let it know what I'm looking for. Just like anything else. I mean, if you are working in industry and your boss comes to you and tells you to go solve a problem, you still need some context for maybe what type of a solution they're looking for, what the bounds of that problem are. What are you constrained by? So here we're constraining ChatGPT by saying, look, you're creating a bio, not a proposal. Use the information you already have about this person to create the bio, and again, organize it into the 3 categories. And then it did a great job. Now, it made it generic, which was fine, but now that's extra work for me. So again, this is easy peasy for ChatGPT. So I simply came down and said, great work. Now rewrite it, but put my name in there and use these pronouns where appropriate. So it's just going to go in and do a find and replace. And now here it is. Here's my consultant bio. Sean Genovese brings a wealth of experience in operations management, characterized by a relentless focus on driving stability and strategic alignment in dynamic environments. Okay, so it got that from the experience that I fed it from my resume, and it's matching it up with, hey, the types of environments that I've worked in, and it actually did a really good job. There was just one remaining problem. This didn't match the tone and the style of those existing bios. So, again, with a little training, this is something that ChatGPT can really excel at. All right? Here's the next prompt. Use the following 2 bios as an example. Pay attention to the style of writing and the voice used. So I'm going to give it the bios of these other two team members, and I'm telling ChatGPT exactly what to pay attention to. It understands the concept of style and voice, and it's really good at using computer algorithms and analysis to go look for the things that we take for granted that contribute to our writing styles. Adapt the bio for Sean Genovese to use this same style and voice. So, again, just to point out, this was a two-step prompt here. I'm telling it, hey, go analyze these things and pay attention to this particular aspect, style and voice, and then take that style and voice and apply it to this other piece of writing. And it turned out great. So this is now the rewritten version, and I'll just read the first part of this first sentence. At Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works division, Sean spearheaded the development, launch, and coaching of leaders to sustain an initial manufacturing war room. This is exactly the type of voice and style that the other two bios contained. So they had a tendency to list out a place of work, the person's name and what they did, and a brief description. So ChatGPT did a great job in this final analysis. And actually, I apologize, I skipped ahead a little bit. In the final analysis, it does do a great job. In this particular version, there was one other problem. It conflated my experience with the examples that had been provided. So if we got past that first sentence, this would have been obvious. But when I gave the sample bios for it to extract the voice from, it took some of that experience and mixed it in with my experience and thought that it was all part of the same content. So that was a little bit of a problem. And I had to tell it, hey, you conflated those things. Try it again. Analyze the style and voice. How would you characterize them? Not the content, just the writing style. So when I said back here, this is a two-step prompt. And it turns out that that was a problem. I needed to do it one step at a time. I needed to analyze the style and voice, then take that and have it apply it. When I asked it to do those two steps together, it got a little confused and it jumbled up some of the information. So here's a description. Both example bios use a concise and professional writing style with an emphasis on specific accomplishments and outcomes. That's accurate. The tone is authoritative and confident. This is what I was talking about, where the AI is really good at analyzing the writing from a very objective standpoint, and you and I could read through something and go, oh, this has a definite tone and a voice, but then how would we describe why it's coming across with that tone? That would take a little bit more analysis. ChatGPT does it like that. The language is action-oriented, focusing on the consultant's role in driving positive results. So this is all great. I asked it, use that style and voice description that it just provided to rewrite my bio. Use only data from Sean's experience. So again, I had to bind it to say, hey, don't use this other information that you have access to. ChatGPT sometimes is like a kid in a candy store. It's got all this information at its fingertips and it just wants to use it in everything that it does. And you have to actively tell it, no, exclude this, only include that. Hey, I'll give you a bonus if you include this. I'm going to penalize you if you include that. That's how it behaves. Okay, so now we get to the final version, and the final version was really good. The last thing I needed, though, is each consultant had a list of their relevant skills organized in those three categories. So I asked ChatGPT to create a relevant bulleted list of skills based on the bio it had just written. And then I asked it to put that list into those categories that we'd already been using. And so here it is. Here's the list of skills in the categories. Now I have my bio. One last comment on this example. I did not simply take that bio and send it to the person that requested it. I read through it and I still made some tweaks based on my own personal style and voice preferences, and also just some things that I thought made the content a little bit easier to read and understand. And I, of course, am also checking for accuracy to make sure that it did what I asked and did not include any extraneous information that wasn't true. All right, so that is an example of how I used ChatGPT to create a bio for me to use in a contract proposal.